Don't lose me on this one because I'm going to tie inflation into the cost of housing back from 1981 to currently. If you like the videos that I do, please like and subscribe. What you're going to learn in this video is what was the highest interest rate, which was in 1981, and where we currently are today. They're ridiculous values. There's no way to get around that. But looking at the average cost in 1981 and the average cost of a house now. Stick around, I'll let you know. Inflation rate in 1980 was at 13.5%. It was a similar time to where we are now. The Federal Reserve pushes the interest rates up to cool off the spending so that the inflation will cool down. That's the whole purpose, for them to raise the rates. When the Fed does raise the rates, so one of the last times they did it so quickly and so heavily was back in 1980, 1981. Today, the highest inflation rate that we've hit since the 1980s was 8.9%. So why does that make a big difference? Because we already went through a huge inflationary time before, and inflation is already pushed up. Dollar from the 1980s compared to a dollar now. The dollar now is worth much less than it was then, and that's because of inflation. So a dollar then versus now would be $3.70 to the current dollar that we have now. So that means that out of every $100 was $370, and out of every $1,000 was $3,070. So it makes a tremendous difference, especially when you're talking about goods and services. Now with goods and services, what I like to jump into also, because that goods and services is the cost of living. So the cost of living goes up tremendously as well. So that's what I want to talk about housing. I hope that you can enjoy this and get some information from it and understand where housing was and where housing is as far as the cost goes. I'm going to let you determine, was it so much less expensive then than it is now? So let's compare the then to now. If you're looking at Silicon Valley, the average home now is worth between $1.4 million and $1.75 million, and that's kind of a rough average. You can get less than that, you can certainly get more than that. But first, let's take a trip back to 1980 and look at the average cost of the home in Silicon Valley. Back in 81, the average cost for Silicon Valley was $139,500. Now you're looking between $1.4 million and $1.75 million and $139,500 back in 1981. Now we're going to take down, how much is somebody going to put down on average? And while we look at inflation, we're also going to be looking at the interest rates, which brings the housing together with the cost of living. And so the highest interest rate that we had was back in 1981, and that interest rate was 18.63%. That is a gigantic number. Now let's take a look at that. Currently, we're at a high interest rate again, and you can average around 7% on a 30-year fixed. So 18.63% and 7% on both 30-year fixes. Those rates are really high, especially from where we came from just about a year and a half ago, which was closer to 3%. So the cost of living on the housing side is absurdly higher than it was just shortly ago. Now, let's look back in 1981. The cost of a home, $139,500. 20% down would make the loan amount $111,600. The average salary in 1981 was $51,047. Now, if you take that divided by 12, and that's $42.54 a month, and at the 18.63% of the $111,600 for the loan amount on the home, you're going to have a debt to income ratio. So a monthly cost would be $1,741, and your debt to income ratio would be 41%. We're not going to stop there because we also have to tie in the taxes. Taxes is also one thing that's gone up tremendously. And I'm going to show you what people are averaging now in Silicon Valley and tell you the debt to income ratio is where we're going to tie it all together. So if we take the taxes at $139,500 on average, and the taxes at 1.25% on the taxable property, that's going to be $1,743.75. Divide that by 12 is $145.31. So that's going to be $1,886 on a monthly payment for the mortgage of 30-year fixed at 18.63% and monthly payment of the taxes of $145. Now that 44% debt to income ratio is on the average of what people made in Silicon Valley back in 1981. So let's take that now and look at the average people make in Silicon Valley now. And looking at the homes, 1.5 million and 1.75 million as an average cost. We can get lower than that. We can certainly get higher than that. And this is going to be couples, the average income, because this is also more common now than it was back in 1981. But the couple, if you average that, total of $346,804. So if you take that and you average it out over 12 months, it's $28,900. And 1.75, you're putting down 20%, and that 20% is going going to give you a loan amount of $1.4 million. If we take the average purchase price of $1,500,000 in Silicon Valley, and if we take the average income of Silicon Valley, do the same thing that we did back in 1981. So the average income is $346,804. By dividing that by 12, it's going to be $28,900. Purchase price of $1,500,000 is going to be 20% down, is going to make that loan amount $1,200,000. The interest rate today is at 7%, and that's going to be average on a 30-year fixed. And that's more or less average on a 30-year fixed, possibly less, possibly more, 7% on a 30-year fixed. So if you take that 7% on a 30-year fixed on that $1,200,000 loan amount, you're going to have a monthly payment of $8,028 is going to give you a debt-to-income ratio of 27%. $8,028 with taxes is going to give you a debt-to-income ratio of 33%. It's more affordable now than it was in 1981. If you take the $1.75 million and if you take that and average it out, you're going to have a loan amount of $1,400,000. Using that same interest rate of 7%, you will have a monthly payment of $93.66 for the loan and $18.23 for the monthly taxes, for a total of, if you were to use 1.75 as the purchase price, 1.4 as a loan amount, you'd have a total of 32% debt to income ratio. If you use the taxes on the property, you'd have a total of 38% debt to income ratio. If you were to take the average income of a Silicon Valley worker, a single individual and not a home, of $246,804, that would be a monthly income of $20,567. And if you take that same purchase price of $1,500,000, you'd be looking at a debt to income ratio of the payment itself of 39%, purchase price of 1.5 with a loan amount of 1.2, and at 7% interest rate, you'd be looking at 46% debt to income ratio. Interest rate being so high now is making it less affordable. And the whole point of this video is to show, back in 1981, a home that was worth $139,500 with a debt to income ratio of a total 44%. At the time, the same affordability, those higher interest rates that we had back in the early 80s, 1981, and the higher interest rates that we have now certainly cause difficult to get into the housing market. There's no question about that. It's food for thought. Hope you're having a great day. Let me know if you have any questions. If you want me to do a video on this nationwide as well, I'll do the research for it nationwide. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.